From the Wildfire Information Center, I'm Scott McLean with the Fire Situation Report for Tuesday, September 26, 2017. With the stats, we're looking at over 1,400 more wildfires this year as before last year, 2016. That's 1,400 more wildfires. We're still in the fight here in the state of California. Last week, the state saw some relief as weather conditions cooled a little, and northern parts of the state saw some rainfall. However, as the weekend approached, conditions began heating up again, leading to several new large wildfire starts, as well as red flag conditions across several counties in northern and central California. Currently, as you can see on our statewide fire map, firefighters are battling 17 large wildfires up and down the state again, including the Santa Ana wind-whipped Canyon Fire. We'll talk more about that fire in a moment, but first, let's zoom into Tulare County, where firefighters have contained the Pier Fire that started east of Springville on August 29th. The Pier Fire scorched over 36,000 acres, destroying 2 homes and threatening hundreds more. Firefighters had it fully contained on Sunday. Firefighters have also contained the Wasna Fire in San Luis Obispo County. That fire started last Wednesday and grew to just under 250 acres before firefighters were able to fully contain it on Sunday as well. Moving on to Butte County, firefighters are currently battling the 32 fire off of Highway 32, northeast of Chico. The 32 fire started yesterday and quickly grew to 28 acres. Firefighters on that particular fire are seeing extreme fire behavior due to the still very dry vegetation. These conditions have kept firefighters busy contending with several spot fires igniting away from the main fire. I was able to talk to some firefighters on this particular fire late yesterday, and they said they had 4 spot fires across Highway 32 because of that fire, because of the conditions that fire whipped up. It actually pushed some firefighters off that line due to those fire conditions. They were immediately able to get back on that line and did get a line around it. Firefighters continue to work diligently towards containment on the 32 fire and currently have it at 60% contained as of this morning. Next, we'll move up to Shasta County, where the Berry Fire ignited on September 12th, east of Big Bend. Firefighters continue to make progress on the Berry Fire, despite it being an extremely remote and difficult to access area. Remember, some of the firefighters had to be airlifted in on helicopters. Currently, the Berry Fire is at 995 acres and 90% contained. Good news. And finally, down in Orange County, the Canyon Fire ignited yesterday afternoon. Fueled by strong Santa Ana winds, that fire has grown very rapidly. I actually drove by that fire yesterday on my way to the airport to come back to Northern California and saw some of the first engines arriving on that fire and the fire behavior that was being produced by that fire. Very impressive. For the latest on the Canyon Fire, we have a report sent in by CAL FIRE Captain Lucas Spellman earlier this morning.
Good afternoon. My name's Lucas Spellman. I'm an information officer on the Canyon Fire. Last night, we had approximately 2,000 acres that burned. We now have 5% contained. As you can see behind me, the fire was hot and moved through here very quickly last night. We did have some evacuations in the city of Corona. We had 300 homes that were impacted with that, with 1,000 residents in there. We do have evacuation center opened at the Corona High School, and that'll be open throughout the day into the evening, and we'll reevaluate as time goes on. Today's wind is going to blow out of the east to northeast, and at 1 o'clock we'll get a little bit of change of direction, which will change out of the south to southwest, which will impact both sides of the fire. This morning, we're putting all of our firefighters throughout those areas on the corners to make sure that we can shore those up, to make sure that we have sufficient engines, crews, and aircraft there during the wind change to make sure that we don't have any troubles in those areas. We will continue to keep you updated throughout this fire. Back to you, Chief McLean.
Thank you, Lucas. As Lucas mentioned, the Santa Ana winds in the area played a major role in the extreme fire behavior on the Canyon Fire. And as you can see on this map, those gusty canyon winds are expected to continue into today throughout Los Angeles County and into the surrounding areas. Real quick, we're also here to answer any questions that you might have, so go ahead and post and we'll see if we can get to those as we move on. We're also looking at some warmer, drier weather this week, across the state, which will elevate the fire danger even more. Look at that, 92 degrees in Redding. We're in fall. It's very important to remember that even though we may have slightly cooler temperatures at times during the fall months, we're still in fire season. The vegetation is so dry. The amount of rainfall has not had any significant impact or long-term impact on the vegetation conditions. It's still dry. And we remain in high fire danger, which is why it's so important for everybody to remain vigilant and to be ready to go if wildfire strikes near your home. Make sure you have at least 2 ways out of your community. What happens if one way is blocked? You need to know where that other one is. It's vital to have a second route out during an emergency. And don't wait until the last minute to evacuate. If you feel like you are in danger, leave early, even if you haven't been asked to evacuate yet. And finally, make sure you plan to evacuate your animals as well if you have time. This includes large animals like horses. Evacuating will be much more stressful on both you and your animals if you don't have a plan ahead of time. To learn more about tips on evacuating early, visit our website at readyforwildfire.org. Karen, red flag warnings in Kern County? Not at this time. They're primarily mid-state up to and into Shasta County, believe it or not. Do we have any more questions? With that, that's the latest on the fire situation in California. I'm Scott McLean. Stay safe.